What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Dripping Creativity Podcast. I am your host, Chris Corvan, and today we have a repeat guest coming all the way back from like one of the first 10 episodes, something like that. I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head. But joining us is Stefan Sparkle, author, storyteller, self-proclaimed good boy. His approach to creativity is refreshing, real, blended with wit and warmth, and grounded focus on mental health. As he works on his second edition of his debut novel, we're going to chat about what it's like to revisit old stories, evolution of his writing, and everything about mental health that goes around with it. So we're just going to dive right in. Stefan, why don't you tell us all a little bit about yourself?
Well, hello again for the first time. My name is Stefan Sparkle. I'm a writer and IT guy. I spend a lot of my time sitting around writing stuff and helping people with their computers and things. I am currently obsessed with Beethoven and the Beatles, which is, I feel like that's two sort of dichotomous things, but at the same time, you know, because of my ADHD and stuff, interests just fly around, you know how it is. So yeah, and oh no, I said and then had nothing to go afterwards. So there you go. I'll end my sentence on and. Yeah.
You know what? It's a perfect way to end a sentence. I don't care what anyone says. So last time we discussed a lot about you, and for everyone that missed that one, I'll make sure to link it in the description, because we covered a lot of really important stuff about you as a person, and I think that's very important for everyone to know. This time, I think we're just going to kind of dive into some more fun shit and really pick your brain here. So to start and get everything out there, what are you currently working on?
Oh, okay. So I'm working on the second edition of my first book. So that's going to sound kind of weird because I only started about a year ago writing in general, maybe I think around May, and wrote the whole book and all that kind of thing, and then published it, and then was like, oh, what do I do? And so started learning how it all worked. And then decided that I had been given advice, which was all right, but it was definitely given under what would you call it? Genuine, helpful ideals. But unfortunately, because I didn't know what I was doing, it was one of those blind leading the blind things, and we just I ended up cutting out a whole bunch of stuff from the book, and then going through a bunch of stuff with some wonderful people, I realized that the book that I'd written, while I enjoyed the story, it wasn't my voice. So I went back and like put my voice back in after cutting it out. And so I've just had that come back from a beta reader, and now I'm doing the next bit, which is looking for ARC readers. And so this whole book, did we talk about the book last time? Cannot remember off the top of my head.
I think we kind of touched on it. I really can't remember because there was a lot of tangents.
Yeah.
There was a lot of
there
tangents.
were a lot of tangents. Yeah, I'm trying to hold on to one this time. So the book itself is a regency romance, which I didn't know it was going to be at the time. I just started writing and I was like, I like this era. Oh, and these two people are in love. All right, let's go, kind of thing. But like, it's just a story about two lonely people who just like want to be alone because of what's going on in their lives, but they're also just wanting a companion. And so they end up meeting each other in the rain and all this kind of stuff, and they sort of feel this connection. And over the course of the book, that connection grows, and it's about how they make each other feel more complete, like the completion of each other, like two puzzle pieces. And that's always interests me because like I've never instantly fallen in love. Like I don't do that. Like I'm not one of those. I think it's, oh man, I posted about it during Queer Month as well, so I should remember this. The demisexual thing. So like, yeah. So like I'm a little bit of that. I don't know how much. I don't want to start running around being like I'm this without doing all my research, but like that's sort of like the idea that I kind of get. And so writing about two people meeting and instantly getting a connection was quite interesting. And then it just sort of goes on, and then it doesn't end great, but it definitely ends with like hopefulness. And so the whole plan with my books is I feel like there's a lot of open sort of areas in the Regency and like in historical fiction in general, where a lot of stories aren't told because a lot of the focus is on like dukes and earls and you know, the Tom in London. But like even just in England, there's so many like smaller stories and tales to be told about real people. So that's sort of what I'm doing, because I'm very inspired by the likes of people like Wilbur Smith and James Michener, who are historical fiction writers, and Michener himself is very research heavy. And so that's what I like doing as well. So I'm a huge fan of writing about putting clothing on and taking it off again and stuff like that. And lots of, I'm very descriptive and purple prosed. But there are heaps of wonderful tales, especially about women. So I think that's partly why I kind of drifted into romance, because it's a woman-centric thing. And I have noticed that a lot of people in general just don't know about the origins of sort of where the whole kind of women's liberation, the whole suffragette thing came from and stuff like that. So I'm fascinated by that. And so I've got people like Mary Somerville, who was a real person, and she was probably the first scientist. I think that's the easiest way to put it. And so she wrote like the first book on science, basically. And so like she pops into my story and helps out my friends, and we learn a little bit about her and stuff, just so that like people can just like know a little bit more about history and like the awesome women that are around, that were around. Yeah, they're all dead now because it was way back then. But yeah, and there's just like so many of those really wonderful tales to be told about all these wonderful people who just helped a little bit, like everyone from like Florence Nightingale, you know, to like one of my favorite people who's Mary Wollstonecraft. I'm sorry, British people, I don't know how to say that properly. But yeah, and she just has this wonderful way of writing where she just like writes her thoughts out. And she wrote this awesome response to the Vindication of the Rights of Man, funnily enough called The Vindication of the Rights of Women. And she just sits there and just like rips into the way that men in general and like just society in general treats women as like delicate objects with like no real skill, and they're just supposed to sit around and be submissive and stuff. And so she writes this in like 1794. Oh, hello, kitten. And yeah, and so you're just like reading this, and she talks about the same problems that women have today. Like she's just literally like, this is what's happening today. And I'm like, well, this is what is happening today. So, you know, I feel like those types of tales could be told because those people are inspiring. Like they have so much grit in them to just keep going anyway. Because like she ended up being rather vilified after she died because her dear husband wrote a biography about it, and he was honest, which he probably shouldn't have been, because everyone was like, oh, she was a and so she fell out of favor for a few hundred years and has only just come back. So yeah, so there's just all these wonderful stories, and I just love writing stories. I'm a dungeon master as well for Dungeons and Dragons, not sexually, and they are the stories that you tell. The stories that you tell in Dungeons and Dragons is probably why I started writing as well, because I've spent more time writing out like campaigns and like little things and all that kind of stuff, and that's just sort of translated over to writing in general. Yeah. Oh, I need to take a break from that. That was a huge. Dude, I think I stayed on topic that time though.
Hey, you did pretty good. Yes, Gracie, can I help you? If you knock anything over or disconnect the call, I'm going to be so mad at you.
Oh, but she's so cute. She's allowed. Hello.
Anyways, all right. So yeah, no, we definitely covered a lot of things about the book last time. I remember we had a nice deep conversation as you were talking about that. I was like, oh yeah, I remember we talked about this. That.
Oh, no.
Oh no.
All right.
You're good.
Yeah.
You're good. So you're redoing the book. Feeling
Yes.
more confident about this time. It's something that a lot more authors are actually doing, which I think is fantastic. It's like realizing, hey, just because it's out there doesn't mean I can't take a step and make it better. And I think that's fantastic. I'm very, very happy and proud. That's awesome.
Yeah, I looked into it before doing it because, again, I have no idea what I'm doing. So if I'm like, I need to do this, now I'm first like, how do I do that? Because last time I'm like, right, go. But I learned things like how Stephen King basically rewrote The Gunslinger.
Oh yeah.
Like he was, I don't like the first time, I don't like that. I just like rewrote it. And there's also a wonderful moment where in The Green Mile, someone who has just been put in a straitjacket wipes sweat off his brow. In the first edition, he's like, I need to change that because that can't happen. And so there's all those like little, that even like, you know, traditional publishers miss stuff, and Stephen King himself was like, whoop, let's do that. So, you know, if Stephen King makes mistakes, I'm sure I'm allowed every so often.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, especially with the Gunslinger. So I actually have the original Gunslinger back from when I was originally purchased.
I've never read it.
And I have the updated one. So yeah, no, I've gone through and actually seen the changes made, and he did a lot better. I mean, well, especially with the Gunslinger, like he wrote that one when he was 19.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, he was still learning everything, and he went back and went, no, this all needs to be changed. It needs to tie more into the complete story, because at that time he didn't realize he was going to be doing 7 books with it. So, you know, sometimes
that would take him so long.
Sometimes you just got to make some changes. You know, it works. So, all right, let's kind of dive out of that one. Gracie is literally on my keyboard and my cord. Let's ask some really weird ones here.
Yeah.
So you love to cook.
Yes.
And you love writing romance.
Yes.
If you had to create a dish that can perfectly encapsulate the essence of one of your characters in your book, what would it be?
Gosh. So there's a character named Lucy who is literally a mixture of all the wonderful females in my life. Women in my life that have been gracious and have been helpful to me and stuff like that. And so Lucy is basically this woman who looks after the female main character. Yes, I can use female there. That's what we use it for. And I don't know why I'm anyway. And she was very sick, and so Lucy's a nurse, and so she'd be like a baked Alaska.
Oh yeah. Nice choice.
So like she's got a really like. So she's been through a lot, Lucy, and so she has a really solid center. But when you look at her from the outside, she's all warm and fluffy. But then, like, you cut into her, and she's like, "How dare you?" Especially if you cut into her friends. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a great
Alaska. Yeah, but more ice cream on top. Yeah.
Gotta have the ice cream. So you've also done a lot of Middle Earth tours, right?
I have done some, yeah. So in New Zealand, we've obviously gone and done that, but for most of us, it's like we've gone there. That's cool. Yeah. But yes, I've done a bit. Yeah.
Have you, through one of the tours, have you noticed anything unexpected or a little known fact about the tour or the area that still kind of amazes you?
Where they did the. Oh man, all I can remember from that place is Wormtongue, the place with all Wormtongue and all that, and the king, and where Gandalf brings back. But I think that's Rohan, the horseman and stuff, and so the hill there is not very far from our place, and when you go there, it is completely bare, like there's absolutely nothing there, and setting all that up took so long that they got the weathered look on like the buildings and stuff because there was like some crazy storm, and so they ended up having this real awesome sort of like dark, because if you look at it, the wood's all like dark and like real, like, you know, it didn't look like that at the beginning. And they were quite pleased about the change. That was what one of the tour guys told us, and I was like, cool, that's a neat little thing. So yeah, there was this crazy storm and they were all like, oh no, what's going to happen to all our stuff? And all the wood came out looking just beautiful, and they're like, cool, we'll take it. Yeah,
gotta love those little things like that, because that's definitely something I didn't know. I love that. So what do you think is one misconception people have about living in New Zealand?
There's a lot less sheep than you think there are. They're not running around the cities like getting in the way and stuff. But yeah, no, it's a wonderful place. It's wonderful here. We have New Zealand is actually the Māori name for New Zealand is Aotearoa, which is a way cooler name in my opinion. So like you've got all these wonderful Māori names in New Zealand that we've started kind of using, because we tried to, like most colonial empires, we tried to stamp it out, but that didn't work, thankfully. And so now it's surging back up again. Not as much as we'd like it to, but it's definitely not a dying language. And they've started adding all the Māori language places to all the signs and things, which is just wonderful, because we've got tourists from before that are like, oh, now we know like the Māori name and where we were last time and all this kind of stuff. So it's very cool there. Oh gosh, I could talk about this for a while. We have just some amazing little places that don't really seem to make sense. Like there's a place on the East Coast, had to never eat soggy wheat Bix there to get around the compass. And Wheat Bix is a New Zealand breakfast, just in case anyone's wondering, and you don't want it soggy. Some people eat it soggy, that's gross. And on the east coast of New Zealand, there's this place with a whole bunch of fossilized trees that have basically turned into stone. So I don't know if it's fossilized, I think there's a particular name for it, but you can just wander around this place and just look around, and there's just like trees from billions of years ago, not billions, but you know, hundreds and hundreds of millions of years ago and stuff, just sort of just chilling out, just being there, and you're okay, that's great. And I think the reason why no one really cares about it is because it's in a very hard to reach place, and there's not really much about it that they can't find out elsewhere. And there's also a few places where the Māori are like, this is ours, and we're like, okay, yeah, kind of thing, because we did take a lot, and so we're like, you can have this back now because we're so generous.
Yep. Okay, yeah. So let's jump back into the kitchen now.
Yes.
When you were writing, do you think about your writing when you're cooking?
I don't think I'm not thinking about writing. You know, obviously I'm concentrating on other things. When I'm cooking, I'm definitely more in my what are they eating, what are they drinking mode, and so I think a lot about that, because I definitely love writing about feasts. Even so, in the first book, the wedding doesn't work out, and so they have to move on and try to do it a different way. But I wrote a little novella where it's post-wedding and they are like, what do we do? And their friends are basically, we've still got food. And I was like, well, if they've been cooking food for this reception, what would happen? And it's 1816. No one's going to waste that food. That's ridiculous. So they're like, let's just have the reception anyway. Let's just go and let's just do that. So they celebrate their love anyway. And it's just this sweet little novella where they just celebrate their love and then they go off and have a wee night regardless. And like, there's like this whole sort of, I had this great time writing the whole feast because like they turn up at the Duke and Duchess's house and all the servants are all in like perfect time and all the stuff's going on. And in the middle of it all is this couple who should have been married but haven't been married but are acting like it. And all the servants know that they're not married and all the servants are all like, oh, all this stuff's going on. And like the Duke and Duchess are like, shh, just shh. just for one night, just, and it's just this, I just really loved like writing that. And there's this whole feast, and the fun thing about writing that feast is the Duchess of Northumberland is half Indian in my book. I didn't know that until I started cooking the feast, and all of a sudden there were these Indian-based dishes that were cropping up from the cuisine of this woman's mother, and I was like, cool. So there's like all these sort of English Indian dishes where like she's got an English style fish but with like a Indian style sauce and all these other crazy things, and it was just lots of fun sort of figuring out how to mix and match, because I could have just been like, this Indian food goes with this, but like I was like, I can't do that. I need to make sure that it all would make sense and is edible and stuff. So yeah, I really love writing about food, and so yes, when I'm cooking, I'm thinking about writing for sure. Yeah. So
then, have you incorporated your food into your spicy parts of your book yet? This is what the people want to know.
So for me, because of the amount of time I've spent with food, not keen on writing about or putting food in places and stuff like that. And like it even gets sticky, like, oh man, like you think cream's gonna be real hot for about 3 seconds, and if you haven't licked it off in 3 seconds, I'm sorry, but now it's pooling in the small of her back, and she's getting upset because it's now running onto the bed and you didn't put a towel down. So not that I've had any experience with that.
No, never once.
So yeah, but I feel like there's sort of like, I guess, food foreplay, I'll put it that way, where like they're eating food and oh, that's the other thing as well. So like for me, foreplay is real important in sex. I don't know if you know this, Chris, but and I know a lot of our female listeners know this, and I know probably a lot of our male listeners know this, but one of the things I've noticed is how a lot of people think, I don't know if think's the right word, but it's sort of like there's this idea that foreplay starts sexually rather than way before that. And so even in that novella, they turn up at this little place and they have to clean it up because someone has broken in and has like used it, and they're like, oh no, we're here, what do we do? So they have this great little time together where this is the first time they're basically playing house. There's this woman who's 30 and this guy who's like 25, and they've like just sort of met each other over the last few months, and they like have a failed wedding, and then they get to go and just play house. So they play house and have a great time, and they clean up, and it starts getting more and more heated as time goes on until they're like sweeping up together and being all like more, and they eventually like make the bed and then just like fall upon it. So like there's this whole like series of things that just kind of go on, because like foreplay's heaps of fun when you incorporate like actually building it from just like nothing. You know, you've got like zero, and then like you're cleaning up, but you're also flirting and doing all this kind of stuff, and all these little bits and things happen, and they slowly get more and bigger and more heated, like I said. Yeah. So yeah. Yes, lost, just completely dropped. Yeah.
No worries. We got lots of questions. We're good. So mental health is a big thing.
Yep.
You work on a lot of mental health topics and all of that. What is one piece of advice you wish you had gotten earlier on in your journey?
With my mental health?
Yes.
Yeah. It's okay to be this way. You know, it took me a long time to sort of just accept that like, because I spent so long being what I wasn't, right? And like learning that, and then finally learning that, like, even after being like, yeah, you have ADHD and you have CPTSD and all these other things, especially after the CPTSD diagnosis, because that was just this year. So I've only really sort of been going through that particular side of the journey recently, because we thought it was other things and stuff like that, and then I went and got tested for it. And so after getting that diagnosis, I really had to sit down and think about sort of how I looked at myself and how I viewed this whole thing. And essentially it's okay. to be this way. Like, it's not my fault that I'm like this, and that's okay. What's not okay is choosing to use that in negative ways. So like being able to manage it and work with it, it's okay to fail at that, but it's not okay to like use it to manipulate or otherwise, get stuff from people. And I have found myself doing that every so often, being like, oh, I'm disabled, help me. And then being like, no, like you can actually pick your ass up and go for it. So, but the essence is like, sometimes I don't feel okay about who I am, but I have to remember that it is okay. Yeah.
That's a fantastic answer. I love it. Let's talk about music.
Yes.
So, you're a musician. What do you play?
Oh, currently I've only got a guitar on me. So, guitar. But I did play bass in a band, and I can keep a relatively good beat on the drums.
Damn, drums. I can't keep a beat to save my life, man. I can't.
It is hard, not gonna lie. It is hard. Like, mad respect to drummers. I think that's why there's fills at the end of a couple of, how like you play the drums and you have to do a fill at the end of like 2 bars. I reckon that's drummers cheating to put them back into beat, because Ringo Starr doesn't have to do that. Ringo Starr just keeps going. He's amazing. Also, he gets shit on a bit too much in my opinion, because he's amazing. Can I rattle on about Ringo Starr for a moment? Yes. so many people have heard this. But like, so a lot of drummers will be like, oh, Ringo Starr, he just kind of is in the back of the Beatles doing his thing, which is exactly what the Beatles needed. Like, they didn't need fancy drumming. They needed Ringo Starr and his solid left-handed right drum kit swing style. So when he started, he didn't know that he should have a left-handed drum kit, so he just played with the right-handed drum kit, and that's why it's all kind of strange in the way he plays. But like, when you're listening to his stuff, there's a few of his songs from the Beatles where you just listen to the drumming and you're like, how are you still doing this 2 minutes later? Like, What Goes On, which I think he sings as well, is just one swing beat the whole way through, and I could do about 4 or 5 bars before I'm gone, just completely gone. And he just does it for like 3.5 minutes, and you're just like, how do you do that? And so I think one of the best tests to find out whether or not you've got a good drummer on your hands is, what do they think about Ringo Starr? And if they don't like Ringo Starr, get them to try to play a couple of Ringo Starr songs, and if they still don't like Ringo Starr, just move on.
It's a fantastic test, that's for sure.
yeah. So like, but in general, music's just incredible. Music is just everything in my life. This sounds so weird. I've tried to explain this to my doctor, and not even a few doctors, and they still don't really understand. I have elevator music in my head all the time. I don't know how to explain it. There's like a little tune that just is always playing. I don't know where it comes from. And a lot of people say that they like hear actual songs in their heads. That's not, it's just like if you're standing in an elevator and it just does that. And so I have music on pretty much all the time to stop that from happening. And so I listen to a lot of music, and at the moment, like I said, I'm currently obsessed with the Beatles and Beethoven. And I use a lot of Beethoven motifs and stuff in my writing. So I use music terms for my writing, because I don't know the literary terms about it. Like I know more about music and writing it than I know about writing, even though I've never released any music or anything like that. But like, I love thinking of my stories in terms of like songs and how they go, how like you build up a song and then bring it down, or sometimes a song just ends epically and all that kind of stuff. And it's the same with books, really. Like, you have an introduction, and then you have this bit, and then it just flows on. So I just think of it like that. And so lots of calls and repeats in my books, where like I do one thing and then do another thing later on. That's a callback and things like that. Calls and response. Sorry, not call and repeat, call and response, which is a big motif in a lot of Beethoven stuff. So yeah.
And that actually
not in your original question.
No, that was beautiful and answered the follow-up question, which was, do you incorporate your music into your books? You got both in one. You nailed it.
Yeah. Excellent. Yes, no, I definitely do. You can't tell yet, but it will probably become more obvious when I introduce Beethoven into the books, because I totally am going to do that. Like, that's just going to be so awesome. And I think the male main character is going to have like this massive fascination for it, because he has ADHD and PTSD from the war and stuff, and so I think it'll be real cool to have him hear just a Beethoven symphony, because it's 1816, so I've got up until like the 7th, maybe the 8th.
Hey, it'll be good for the music people out there too, so incorporate it all, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right, so we are closing in on the end. Still got a little bit of time. I still got the rapid fires to do, but I want to know, with the new edition coming out there, do you have an estimated timeline on when you're planning to release it?
Let's look at the calendar. One moment, caller. I'm hoping to have it out. I want to give it a month. So end of August, start of September. So I reckon sometime in September. Yeah, I'll give it that, because it's, as an indie author, it's very hard to, I don't know, as an indie author, for me as an indie author, it's hard to set dates, because I've got a date, and then if there's a date, I won't do anything until 2 days before the date. But if I don't set a date, I'll just do it.
That is so ADHD. I understand all but too well, my friend.
Yeah, and so wanting that, I've got the cover already. It's so cool. I reckon that it does. I'm a little bit too proud of this, I think, because I don't think the cover needs a blurb. I don't think it needs anything on it. I think when you pick it up that it's a Regency romance, and just open it and see if you like it. Kind of. It's actually, yeah, that was one thing that I really enjoyed about creating this new edition, was having a proper cover artist. And I would love to do a shout out, but they are not quite set up for public art yet. They are sort of looking into it. They've been helping a few of us out with this little writers group that I've still got, in fact, still in, and they are absolutely wonderful. They're so understanding about the fact that I live in New Zealand, and it costs about 66% more if you say, oh, it's $20 in the United States, add 60% odd to that for me. And so he's very lovely about those types of things, and having a cover artist and knowing how to format is a huge thing as well. So that's why I'm kind of give myself a month, because the book is done. It'll just take one more pass over, and then I'll be doing the formatting and all that kind of stuff. But I've learned that I can add like little pictures to like the margins, like they did in the old book. So I've like got a picture of each of them, and in the margins they're like facing each other, and like all like these little cool things where I'm just like, I just want to do this because I'm an indie author. And like that's the fun thing about being an indie author, is I can literally just be like, I want Jack and Anna facing each other in the margins of my book, and no bigwig guy can be like, oh, that's not a thing we do. Oh, well, that's a thing I do.
All right, let's kind of wrap it up here with some rapid fire.
All right.
Don't be afraid to go on tangents. It's fine. All right, we're gonna. Oh, Gracie, I swear, if you knock the camera on, man, she has been a demon this entire interview. All right, your favorite New Zealand dish?
Oh, mince pie, mince and cheese pie.
Solid choice.
Hand pie. You guys call it a hand pie. We hold it in our hands. A pie in New Zealand is just anything that could be pie. Oh, like chips, hot chips and crisps. Chips. We're all chips. Yeah, contextually. Yeah.
What flavor of chips do you go for?
Sour cream and chives.
It's a very common one. I like that. Very good. Why can't I think of the name now? They're from Ireland. I can't think of that. I'm totally blanking on the name, but they're very tasty. Coffee or tea?
Sorry?
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Solid choice. Favorite romantic movie?
Oh. Rapid fire. Romancing the Stone.
Ah, solid choice.
And The Lost City, because it's a great throwback. Yeah.
Love it. Go-to comfort food?
Oh, bread. Seriously, a loaf of bread.
Store-bought or homemade?
Homemade.
Nice.
I make my own bread. Yeah, I post it up sometimes. Yeah.
Cats. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say I use way too much jam, and then I thought to myself, no, I use just enough. Yeah.
No, it's never enough jam. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Beach day or mountain hike?
Mountain hike.
Good choice. Your favorite writing snack?
Raisins.
Raisins. That's a new one. I think it.
Raisins.
Favorite Middle Earth character?
Pippin.
Oh, good choice. Pippin doesn't get enough love, man. Pippin doesn't get enough love.
I love him so much because he's such a cheeky little shit. Yeah, and so am I. So there we go.
You know what? It fits. Are you a sweet person or a savory person?
Sweet.
Favorite instrument to play?
Oh, to play? I have played a theremin once. I got to play a theremin once, and I sucked at it, but it was still great fun. Yeah. For those that don't know, the Doctor Who intro, that woo, that's a theremin. Yeah.
Theremin. I wanted to play a theremin just because it makes me feel like a wizard.
Because you got your hand in the thing.
You're just doing that whole thing.
Screeching, squealing and stuff.
You're casting a spell. I don't care what anyone says. You're casting a spell.
Oh, yeah. Someone has just put those bars there just to make it look like, you're doing something physical.
All right, where did I leave off? One word to describe your writing style.
Purple.
You know what? I'll accept it. Most memorable concert you ever attended?
Tools. They came to New Zealand for their 10,000 days. I think it was. Yeah, amazing. I'm not going to say I wasn't under the influence of things, but I'm not going to go into that because technically it's not allowed here.
So we don't know what you're talking about. It could have been a cup of tea. You smuggled in tea.
Oh, it was good tea. Yeah, someone put a mushroom in it. It was very strange.
Don't know what you're talking about. What is your favorite household chore?
The washing.
Really?
Yeah, put the washing in. So, all right, here we go. I segregate the washing. It's the easiest way to put it. It goes into like male and female, and then it goes into darks and lights, and even then it goes into like pants and t-shirts and underwear and stuff. It gets all sorted, and then depending on what needs to be done, I do that. But there's something about it, especially the whole, I put it in, it gets done, I pull it out, I hang it out. There's like 3 separate things that I need to do. I could do them all pretty well. So if I do them all in order, I feel good about myself. Yeah. And it's endless. So I can just keep doing that. Because it's fun being a house husband. I talked about that last time, but it still is fun being a house husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love it. Rainy days or sunny days?
Rainy days. Yeah. Rainy days hiking up a mountain with coffee.
Now, see, perfect. That is just absolutely perfect. And then the ultimate question, where can people find you?
On Threads mostly. I ended up changing my Threads thing to make it a bit more authory. So I'll just double check that I say that correctly. Stefan J. Sparkle author with dots in between it on Threads. And I do sometimes chuck some stuff up on Instagram under the same name. But yeah, I am very unhinged about what I post up. I think you've noticed it's just whatever comes into my mind, and every so often I'll tell you that I'm doing an advertisement because I like that. I like it when someone's like, this is an advertisement, and I'm like, okay, I'll read that. But like if I start reading it and I find out it's an advertisement, throw it away. You tricked me. How dare you?
With that all said, the only final thing I need you to do is just say goodbye to everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. It's always lovely to see you all on Threads and everything. Pop in and say hello. And thanks for having me, Chris. I might even come back again.
I look forward to it.
A huge thank you to Stefan for that genuine and insightful conversation. It is always a blast to have you on. It is another one of those ones that could go on for like 6 hours. It'd be perfectly fine. Don't forget to go and check out all of his work. Follow him on socials, all that fun shit. And of course, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to like, subscribe, leave a rating. You know how it goes. My name is Chris Corvan. You can find me everywhere at Chris of the Void. This has been the Drippin' Creativity Podcast, part of the Creative Coffee Cafe community. Remember, stay creative, stay inspired, and until next time, see ya.